What's up guys, it's Jace here. I am a student athlete here at the University of Minnesota. I run track and cross country, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the benefits of carbohydrates and its benefits to performance and recovery. So the reason why I'm talking about this is that we're in class, we have a project, we have to pick a topic that we're going to research about and dive more into, and I think there's a lot of talk about it in the running community and across all sports, and I think it's one of the reasons why it's always kept me healthy in my sport. The power of fueling before, during, and after exercise can really benefit your performance and help you stay healthy in the sport. So I think fueling as an athlete has always been part of my training ever since I was in small junior programs. Even if it was stopping to have some candy or some gummy worms, fueling has always kind of been a big aspect, and hopefully you can learn a thing or two and implement it in your guys' training. So I'm a freshman here at the University of Minnesota, and something that's kind of been new is fueling during workouts. So if it's having a carb drink mix or some sort of snack to have during a run, which is something that I don't think I've done as much for running, much more of skiing in the past. But it's something that's new to me, and I think it has kind of benefited the whole team and kind of kept us all healthy this season too. I'll be highlighting the research facts and some past studies that people have done. Things have been going up over the years, and I think a lot of it to do is because of fueling. So let's just look at the marathon, for example. In the 1980s and 1940s, runners took swigs of whiskey or some sort of beer or alcohol or wine to get some sort of advantage. There weren't any fueling stations. A matter of fact, 1904 Olympics in Paris, they only had 2 water stations. And yeah, there's some sort of carbs in alcohol, but it kind of mostly resulted in bonking and terrible cramps. Fast forward to 1960s and 1970s, hydration kind of started to become more of a thing. The invention of Gatorade allowed athletes to have fueling as some carbs and some electrolytes. Another thing is that kind of in marathons, people started to fuel with some oranges or any kind of soda or flat soda. That kind of started to be more of a popular thing. And then even into the 1980s and 1990s, Power Bar kind of came out, which was kind of used as a endurance bar. And this all leads up to the 2010s, where personalized fueling kind of started to become a thing. But first, I'm going to kind of look into a study published by Oscar Yerkenrup. I know I pronounced that wrong, but I'm sorry. And this is a study kind of published in 2014. He's a nutritionist and triathlete. So one of the first studies in this paper shows the power of just consuming a small amount of carbohydrates. As a matter of fact, it's only 22 grams, and this kind of had a big impact performance of a sprint at the end of a 4-hour easy cycle. And some of you guys may be wondering, well, how am I supposed to know what 22 grams of carb is? 22 grams of carbs is. And for example, you can just look at apple, which has roughly 20. And a lot of athletes use different ways to kind of keep track of their carbs. Or the amount, and I'll be referring to that later in the video. As a matter of fact, they also looked at how only 16 grams of carbs could actually increase performance by just 14%. Early research on carbohydrate intake during exercise had kind of big flaws, which made it difficult to research about a certain dose to a certain kind of response. For years, it was only seen as like a small dosage, around 20 grams of carbs is really necessary. However, there's been more and more research. There have been newer, better controlled studies that now show a clear dose to response relationship. So, for example, these studies show that higher carbohydrate intake improves carbohydrate oxidation. One study found that the increments of 15 grams of carbs to 30 to 60 gradually increased performance. And this is likely due to the increased amount of carbohydrates being able to be broken down and used for energy. There's a larger trial, around 51 athletes, that kind of tested the difference from 10 grams of glucose or carbohydrates all the way to 120. And the results showed that increasing a lot more carbohydrates increased performance, but to be more specific, it was actually around the 60 to 80 grams of carbohydrates per hour. And these findings align with the current recommendations for the amount of carbs to consume. And these are some recommendations for consuming carbs. So first, the amount you should consume relates to the duration. People who are exercising for 20 minutes is going to be much different than people who are going to be exercising for 2 hours. Another thing too is the amount of intensity. So people who are running really fast compared to people who are running really slow are going to be needing a different amount of carbohydrates. So people who have high power output, high speed, and are in oxygen debt, the sweet spot for carbohydrate intake is around 60 to 90 grams of carbs per hour. Compared for an easy 1 to 2 hour ride or bike, 30 grams of hour is usually kind of the right area. So there are some different ways to consume carbohydrates. Some people like gels, some people like bars or solid food that are low in fiber or low in protein or low in fat, so it's easy on your stomach or gut. And most of them tell you how many carbs is in a serving. Many athletes like to mix and match to achieve their carbohydrate intake goals, but most importantly, it's really important to train your gut for these fueling strategies, because this can cause a lot of gastrointestinal discomfort if you're not used to consuming a lot. And at first, your body actually only has a certain absorption capacity, so increasing it in increments is how your body can use more of the carbohydrates you're eating. So if you start at 20 grams of carbohydrates an hour for a 2-hour bike ride and increase it by 5 grams every week, eventually by week 7 you can get to 60 grams of carbohydrates an hour, and your body will be able to be comfortable and be able to absorb it well. But also carbohydrates can dehydrate you, so it's important to have some sort of hydration with you. Lastly, weight is a big factor too. Someone who is 170 pounds is not going to be consuming the same amount as someone who is 115 pounds. Now let's get into recovery. One study states that short-term carbohydrate restriction impairs bone formation at rest even greater than low energy availability, which is underfueling in general. So low carbohydrate intake increases bone breakdown and decreases bone formation. So when you're not consuming enough carbohydrates, you're not feeling enough for your exercises, your body is using its energy to support its vital organs like your brain or your heart, and most of the energy is not going into repairing your body or your bones. So it's important to consume carbohydrates before, during, and after your workout to have enough energy that your body can also prioritize its vital organs, or excess energy to go to your muscles and your bones to increase recovery. Overall, I hope you guys have found this video pretty interesting and helpful, and maybe you could have learned a thing or two and implement it in your own training. Thanks.